Today we're joined by Adam Brimo, who is the CEO of OpenLearning. So we're going to discuss the online education space. Adam, with an end of COVID and a return of international students to campuses, is this positive for OpenLearning?
Yeah, it is. It's very positive. I think the past year has been very challenging for universities and the higher education sector generally. And although OpenLearning has navigated that very well, and we've enabled a lot of these institutions to continue delivering their programs online while international students haven't been able to get into the country, we actually see very significant opportunities now that international students are starting to return. Some of those are driven by the fact that we now have a lot of programs and courses on OpenLearning that are designed not just for international students, but also domestic students. We've signed a partnership with UNSW Global to deliver a fully online pathway program. And the idea is after doing that online program, students will actually go and attend the university face-to-face. So the fact that students are coming back means that we expect demand for this program to be very strong. And of course, international students are a very significant driver of university revenue. So as universities' revenue recovers, they'll have more capacity to invest in areas like short courses and micro-credentials, where OpenLearning is shaping up to be the leading platform in the country.
So Adam, during COVID, I mean, these universities face challenges they've probably never seen before. I mean, their campuses would have been emptied of international students. What are the structural challenges for universities moving forward?
Yeah, it's a very interesting situation. And although international students are returning, some of these changes are still playing out. So for example, international students represent a very significant portion of most universities' revenue in Australia, anywhere from, 10% all the way up to 50% or more in some cases. Now, universities have to be wondering whether that's going to continue. Now, a lot of institutions have adjusted their cost base over the past 12 months. They've looked at how to become more efficient. They've looked at where they allocate their resources. But one of the key structural challenges institutions are facing is how do they invest in online education to deliver a really high quality online experience while also keeping up their investments on the campus, and the buildings and the infrastructure. So I think we're starting to see a lot of universities look at how they adjust their product mix, whether they develop some programs entirely for online and others, for face-to-face, whether they look at short courses and micro-credentials as a way of adjusting the types of programs that they're offering. So at the moment, most institutions would offer an undergraduate program, postgraduate programs such as master's degrees. But short courses and micro-credentials is becoming a third category that these institutions are looking at, both to drive new revenue, but also to provide more upskilling options for the domestic Australian market. So institutions are looking at their entire cost base, which has been originally designed for research and on-campus teaching, and how they can allocate sufficient resources to these new areas of development, fully online programs and short courses and micro-credentials.
And you mentioned the agreement you've signed with the University of New South Wales. Is that an example of how you kind of going to work with in partnership with some of these universities moving forward?
Yeah, it definitely is. So just to put it in context, OpenLearning is one of the largest global online education platforms with about 2.6 million users. And there's really three parts to our model in Australia. There's the OpenLearning platform, which is designed to be really engaging, deliver project-based and activity-based learning for everything from a short course through to a micro-credential and online degree program. Then we have our learning design capability, which are a team of experts in the field that actually will help institutions move online and design these really engaging courses. Institutions can do it themselves on the platform, but we find that they actually would like our assistance, particularly universities. And the third component is our global marketplace, which is openlearning.com, where we showcase some of the highest quality and most interesting courses to the world through our platform. Now, historically, we've provided our services on a software as a service and a fee-for-service basis. And that remains the core of our business at the moment. And that's enabled us to get over 143 education providers around the world onto the platform. Now, what that's done is it's demonstrated the capability of OpenLearning, our team, the technology, the education expertise, but it's also showcased how the platform can be used in different ways. And throughout COVID, we started working with UNSW Global, which is a wholly owned subsidiary of UNSW, runs all of the international foundation studies and pathway programs, a lot of English language programs as well. And we redesigned some of the courses in a collaborative fashion with them to deliver to students who couldn't make it into Australia. And that was incredibly successful. The student engagement was high, students really enjoyed it. They were able to interact with their peers, they met the outcomes for the course. So off the back of that, we sat down with the university and we said, okay, what can we do next? And one of the significant opportunities we saw is that there are a lot of these pathway foundation studies programs that have historically been delivered on campus. And they're anywhere from a few months to a year long. And pathway programs are really designed for students who just miss out on the entry criteria for the university. So you really want to get into UNSW, but your math mark in year 12, your science mark, your English mark is just not high enough. So the pathway programs are designed to bridge that gap. And the program that we've partnered with UNSW on is called the Transition Program. And the Transition Program is a 4-month-long program, and you can think of it as like a compressed year 12 program. And what it does is students who come in, they go through this program. It's full-time in the sense that students will be learning 40 hours a week effectively for the 4 months. And while it was previously delivered face-to-face, we're now redesigning it so it's delivered entirely online. At the same time, the actual tuition fee the student will pay has been reduced quite significantly, and there's no fees obviously for traveling to Australia and staying on the campus and everything like that. So once you add it all up, the transition program that we're developing is going to be a very, very high quality experience, redesigned with project-based learning, collaboration, continuous assessment, portfolios, and everything. But it's also going to be, probably 50% or more cheaper when you add up everything compared to the previous program. Now, this is a program that we're developing with UNSW in a partnership basis. So rather than charging for our services upfront, what we're doing is we're actually investing in building the program with the university. We're going to be involved in delivering the program and managing the program. And in exchange for that, we'll receive between $6,000 and $9,000 per student who goes through that program to cover all of our costs and obviously our investment. And what that means is that we have a direct stake in the success of this program, a very significant stake. And we intend to not just deliver a fantastic program, but also support UNSW in their marketing efforts, because UNSW is now going to be promoting this program around the world. So this is a really exciting opportunity for us. It's a transformative partnership that we've done with UNSW, and it comes off the back of a lot of the great work that we've done with them over the past 6 or 7 years, actually. So when you look at open learning as a whole, we have not just, I guess, the few components of our business model, but we have a few ways we've derived revenue, and that has changed a bit over the course of the year as a response to what's happening in the university sector. Initially, with a focus on software as a service and services, we average about $20 of revenue per student per year. Now, that's a very scalable, high volume model, and that's going to continue. In the Open Creds, so Open Creds is our micro-credentialing framework that we've developed, and we also have a partnership there with Open Universities Australia and the Open Creds Investment Fund that we've set up to help develop those programs on a revenue share basis. In that model, we average about $75 per student who goes through those Open Creds. But you can see on these pathway qualifications, we're receiving thousands of dollars for each student who goes through. So you can imagine that's going to be a significant focus for us going forward while maintaining the existing business.
Now, Adam, the share price has been under a little bit of pressure recently. What are investors missing at the moment?
I mean, I can only speak for the business and what's been happening during COVID. Now, prior to COVID, education was moving online, and it was moving online at its own pace. Now, due to COVID, the existing changes in the market have accelerated. Universities now have a very strong imperative to move all of their programs, not just online, but in a much higher quality way. Because what COVID has exposed is that the universities and higher education providers, most of them were not ready to deliver their programs fully online in a way that was actually competitive with face-to-face. The experience for a lot of online programs hasn't been as good as face-to-face. Now, universities have managed to sort of get by this year, and I think everyone's given everyone, a bit of slack because of the challenges that everyone's been facing. But going forward, universities and higher education providers are making a significant investment in moving online and increasing quality. and that's going to directly benefit open learning. The second area is that what's come out of COVID is an acceleration in changes across the entire economy, which requires more upskilling and reskilling across the population. And that's an area where open learning is incredibly well placed because of our focus on short courses and micro-credentials and the introduction of our Open Creds framework, which is a cross-sector micro-credential framework that we aim to become the standard for Australia. And we've just launched in Malaysia as well with similar ambitions. So what we're seeing is that COVID has, I guess, caused a number of significant, or kicked off a number of significant changes in the economy and in the education sector that will significantly benefit open learning over the short, medium, and long term. In the near term, some of the, I guess, biggest benefits of coming out of COVID will be the return of international students, which will not only bolster university finances, but will also lead to more students, we believe, coming into our transition program that we're delivering with UNSW. So there are direct benefits to, I guess, coming out of COVID. Obviously, over the past year, I think everyone saw that online education had to be delivered online, and therefore, a lot of companies that would do anything online, I think, were beneficiaries of that. But education is a little bit different. What's been kicked off now is really a long-term change. And that's going to continue. And we see that accelerating. And certainly the conversations we're having are very positive. In fact, early this year, a lot of existing conversations we're having slowed down a bit because the universities had to shift focus to delivering their core business online. Now they can come back and say, okay, how are we going to position the university for the next phase of growth? How are we going to position it to reskill and upskill the population? And those are things that will benefit us going forward.
Adam Brimrow, thanks for your time.
Thank you very much as well. I appreciate it.